Welcome back to A Bit of Curiosity. I am your host, Jeremy Howlett, and I am really excited today to have Caitlin Proost on. I've known Caitlin for 14 years, 13
Yeah.
years probably. When
Yep.
she was a wee little gal coming out of Utah State. Brought her on as an intern initially and worked on the Ultra brand, and we'll get into some of that stuff. Caitlin is a wife, just to give her a little intro, she's a wife and a mother of two hilariously awesome kiddos. As I mentioned, out of Utah State, she cut her teeth cranking on social content and storytelling with me at Ultra. She brought fun and excitement to the job every day. Since Ultra, she has carried that excited passion into every other aspect of her work and life. And so, in addition to loving life as a full-time mom, she's working on the brand side with some consumer products, as well as working on her own app, podcast, and community around support for moms, especially postpartum mental health. So let's dive into that right off, right? Like, why the pivot from like product brand, which is what you've been doing for the last dozen plus
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
into now, okay, let's go build this mental health community app, etc.
Yeah. I think there are some entrepreneurs who are like, I know I'm an entrepreneur. I just need to find my idea, find my product, and I'm going to build a company and crush it. And there are some entrepreneurs like myself who just stumble into a problem and become problem obsessed and feel like they have to solve it. And that's what happened to me. After I had my first baby, I developed postpartum depression. I was part of the 1 in 5 moms who struggle with a postpartum mood disorder. And I just had no idea that's what was happening to my brain. And it took me 5 months to realize something was off. And by the time I finally got diagnosed and got help, my maternity leave was long gone. I was back at work. And I just realized like I had missed a really important window in like my motherhood journey and in my son's life because I was struggling with this. And there was absolutely no consumer tools, no apps, no information out there to help me realize something was off and to get help and get a diagnosis. And so my co-founder and I both struggled with that. And we were just like, this is really unacceptable. And we feel like we can create the tool that would have solved our problems. And that's kind of where we got started. And initially it was just like, hey, let's sit down and like just outline what it is that would have helped us in that moment. And when we kind of walked away from that session, we were like, honestly, if we had a really good piece of tech and a really good app in our pockets that we went home with for when we left the hospital, that would have solved 99% of our problems. And we built a really great MVP and we took it to a bunch of psychologists and therapists and doctors. And what surprised us was that everyone agreed, like, this is exactly what we need to bring to market. And that kind of lit a fire under both of us to decide, like, okay, I guess we're starting a tech company and I guess we're on this journey. And so we very quickly started making the jump from being brand managers, working in CPG, building brands and doing a lot of brand storytelling to building a tech app. And that's kind of what we're really in the trenches of right now.
So 20% is not a small number, right? Like that's a pretty hefty, sizable
Yeah.
number, especially as we consider how many babies are born in just in the United States alone, right? And so 1 in 5 moms are dealing with this, right? And so what is kind of the secret sauce, right? Like what do you feel like was missing that you guys have now been able to kind of fill that void?
Yeah.
And because you say, okay, now we've put together the piece that we can send home that'll solve 99% of the problems when they leave the hospital. Like, what
Yeah.
is that?
As it stands right now, if you go to the hospital to give birth, you get sent home with a packet of papers. And those papers explain everything from breastfeeding to how to swaddle a baby. And they're basically copied out of textbooks. And there's a small paragraph at the end that says, hey, if you are crying for longer than 2 weeks, you need to see a professional because you might have postpartum depression. And that's really it. What we've designed and what we have taken is all of the pieces that I learned in therapy that helped me process and kind of move through my recovery journey and kind of process like what was going on with my moods. And we've built those tools directly in the app so they're not gate kept anymore. And those are things like daily mood tracking, daily custom affirmations, and journaling to help you kind of process how you're feeling postpartum and what's going on. What I realize more than anything that women need is access to the data of what's going on with their moods every day. Because when you're in the postpartum fog and you're not sleeping, it's hard to keep track of things like how your moods are tracking day by day, how long you've been feeling badly, and if any of that is normal or common, and if any of that is outside of the realm of what you expect the baby blues to be. There's a huge hormone shift that happens postpartum, the biggest in your life, in fact, that can lead to a lot of issues. And so by bringing in the daily mood tracking and bringing in what therapists and psychologists use, it's called the Edinburgh survey, and moms usually take this at 6 weeks postpartum in a doctor's office. We've made some changes to that and brought it in the app so you can take it weekly instead of just once at a 6 week post appointment. And we combine that with your daily mood score. And we have some built in some really great AI. The great thing about AI when it comes to mental health and detection of early symptoms is the AI can detect patterns much quicker than you might in yourself as a person. The AI can tell us, like, hey, we have some early warning signs here that might mean that you are more prone to develop postpartum depression. So let's set up some things in place within the app to help you not go down that path, or let's get you some early intervention help. And a combination of all those things are what we believe will really help most women. And to your point, 1 in 5 is 20%. What's been very interesting is since we started this project, the statistic was initially 1 in 7 women will develop a postpartum mood disorder. In the last year, they have dropped that statistic to 1 in 5. And those are only the diagnosed cases. And we know from all of the research we've done for this project in the last year that there are many, many women that go undiagnosed. And then only a year or two later realize, oh, I definitely was going through it postpartum and I definitely struggled. And so our goal is to just bring your own personal data in your own hands so you can see how you're trending and give you recommendations on if that's normal or if you should try to get some help.
Fascinating. So with all of that, right? Like for some of those listening might say that sounds like a lot, right? Like
Yeah,
I've got to take care of a kid. I've got to track this and I don't like how do you make it simple, right? Like it's all right because it can seem like you're just adding more complexity to the potential problem. So how does it actually make things better without being too complicated?
sure. Track your mood once a day and take a survey once a week that takes less than 2 minutes. And from that data, we can give you all the recommendations that you need. I think
So
what's
they
interesting of
So let me interrupt you. So they don't have to understand how to interpret the data. The
no,
app is going to interpret that data and give recommendations for
yes,
them.
yes,
Okay. Because I think like when people hear, right, well, we're going to take all this data and we're going to have it and we're going to aggregate it for it, right? Like they just hear like I got to look at a big Excel spreadsheet and try to interpret this stuff,
yeah,
right? Like, and that sounds really overwhelming.
yeah. I mean, what the app is doing is answering the question that so many moms have postpartum, which is this normal? Am I okay?
Yeah.
And the app takes your data and will tell you, like, yes, you're normal, you're doing great, or hey, we noticed you might need some help, and we'll get you that help.
No, that's great. So you've taken this to some psychologists and so forth. Have you worked with other medical professionals? Like maybe you're like low on iron, or maybe you need these type of supplements or whatever, right? Like, is
Yeah,
that stuff included? Is that down the road, like things that you're looking
yeah.
at, or
Yeah. So there, with the roadmap that we're building, we absolutely are building in a supplement line because we know when you give birth, you lose a ton of essential minerals, things like magnesium, things like iron, and those things are directly related to your mental health. So luckily, my co-founder and I have 5 years experience in the supplement industry, and that's a very easy segue for us to build into the app and make it pretty seamless to recommend supplements that might help you postpartum. I think what's so interesting about postpartum health for women in general is the general advice that women are receiving from a supplementation standpoint is just keep taking your prenatal till it runs out. And it's like there's so much more we could be doing to support your recovery and your mental health from a supplementation perspective. But once the baby's born and there's a healthy baby, everyone's kind of like, oh, sigh of relief, we're good. And then as the mom, you're just kind of expected to like go recover and then hit it running in 3 to 4 months again. And it's much more complicated than that.
yeah. So so going back to work, right? Like you recognize like these were some things that I missed with my son.
Yeah. Yeah.
what do you feel like some of those things were? Like what, like obviously tracking your mood and tracking these things and letting AI and software and machine learning, like these things play their part in saying, hey, like
Hmm.
we're aware of it, right? Like be aware of this. Maybe you need to check on this. What do you think, like for because I think sometimes, right, like we may just think that, oh, I don't need this, right? Like I'm not that
Right. It's
person, right?
not that bad. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it sounds like, hey, your app would be beneficial for all moms in
Yeah.
postpartum
Yeah.
because then you can pick up things whether you're good or not, right? Like, but like how, so, and I think I already know the answer to this question, so this might be a little redundant question, but like my Apple Watch, right? Like it gives me little notifications. How are you feeling today? Right? How are you
Yeah.
feeling right
Right.
now? And I put
Yeah.
that in and it's nice, right? Like, okay, like it makes me be a little more intentional in my thought,
Hmm.
but that's all it does for me. Apple hasn't, at least to my knowledge and my experience using it, Apple hasn't developed any recommendations for me based on how I respond. And so it sounds like you're doing that, but you're taking it the next step further. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah, I mean, even if you have the best of birth experiences and your mental health postpartum is incredible, birth is such a transformative experience that there's still a lot of processing about like how your life has changed and what has happened. And the app will help you process those emotions, understand if, like I said, if they're normal or not, give you recommendations on like how to further your processing and healing. It also allows you to bring in people in your real life village. So, one of the things that I struggled with personally was expressing to my partner, like, I'm struggling and I'm not feeling normal. I just didn't really have the words to communicate what I was going through. And so, an important piece of the app that we've built in is if you choose to share, we will send your mood updates to people in your life that can check in on you and help you. And so, if I mark that I've been feeling overwhelmed and frustrated for the past few days, the app will give me a notification that says, "Hey, we've noticed you've been feeling down. Do you want to share this with anyone in your village?" And I can select people to share what's been going on, and the app will recommend to them how they could help me and support me. And so there's really this community and education aspect that we're building in for everyone that surrounds a mom postpartum to like lift them up and help them, because we found that spouses, friends, family, everyone wants to help a new mom. No one's quite sure how, and no one wants to overstep. And so by the technology can really like break down those awkward conversations and really give like specifics on how you can help a new mom in your life that you love. And so to me that was a very important piece that we built in.
No, I love that because I think like it's easy for us to bring over the casserole, right? Like, and
Sure, yeah.
I'd say like there's a movie I watched years ago, right? Like she just had a baby and she's got like 20 casseroles on the counter, right? Like,
Yeah.
and sometimes it can be like that, right? Like it's like, oh, everybody's coming, like the whole neighborhood is pitched in,
Yeah.
but like, but at the end of the day, right? Like, okay, a casserole's nice, like it keeps me from having to cook, right? But I probably need some real like intimate human
Yeah.
connection to share,
Yeah.
okay, like this is a struggle, or like I might need you to come and take my kid for an hour, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I can
Yeah.
just take a nap or do something,
Exactly.
right? Like, because a lot of times, like, and I've read a lot of books on like mental health and just looking at like, okay, our mental health journey, right? And so much of the problems that we experience with our overall mental health is because we have complexified our lives and we
Hmm.
don't have time in the margins. We don't have rest. We don't have the white spaces of time like we used to, right? Like we fill that
Hmm.
up with Instagram or which then takes us down a whole nother road, right?
Sure.
Like we can get in
Oh,
that
sure.
like
Oh, yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
whole other, we're opening up another Pandora's box of issues by doing that,
Right.
right? Like, or we're watching TV, which again opens up another Pandora's box, right? Like, but we're not like going out on the deck and just closing our eyes and listening to the birds. We're not going for a walk out in nature. We're not we're not meditating, right? Like we're not praying like we used to, right? Like there's all these things that we're not doing, and not to add more to our to-do list, right? Like, but that's what, like, sometimes we need a not to-do list in our lives, right? And so for moms, sometimes, right? That's just like, hey, can you help take everything off my plate so that
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it? And I like, for me, like, I'm not a mom, I'm a dad, right? Like, I didn't have to go
You
through
are
that
a dad to
physiological
four
change.
children, so I think you're a little bit experienced.
But like, I know, like, at least for me, right? Like, it is very hard for me to settle down and things are chaotic around me. The house is a mess. The dishes aren't done, right? Like I work from home, and if I get up and I go use the restroom and there's a sink full of dishes, you know what? The next 30 minutes of work has just been shot because I'm
Yeah.
going to go do the dishes because that's all I'm going to
Yeah.
think about. Even if I
Yeah.
don't do them and come to my desk, it's all I'm thinking about, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
like I put myself into that new mom, right? Like, and if there is dishes piling up, or dinner has to be made, or I need to change the diaper, or I've got older children that I've got to help take care of
Yeah.
while I'm trying to take,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of time for moms to rest, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so it becomes really hard. But by letting her people know, like, hey, this is what I really need help with, because again, as humans, right? Like, one of the things that we do not like to do is ask for help. We don't
Yep.
like to look weak,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
ego, pride, whatever it is, right? Like,
Yeah. Man, especially as a new mom, because there's a lot of shame built into admitting, like, I need help. Maybe this newborn stage isn't this newborn heaven that everyone expects and says it is. And it can be really hard for women, and especially new moms, to ask for help. And so we're really trying to introduce technology that doesn't, to your point, isolate you further from your community, but actually it makes it easier for you to invite your community to help you in meaningful ways.
well, and I think too, right? Like, you didn't notice it really until you went back to work. And
Yeah,
that's another layer of complexity on top of this,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Because moms today are expected to rise the rate. Like, there is this big push for women in business, which I don't have a problem with, but I support it, right? Like,
Hmm.
I some of the best people I've worked with are of the female gender, right? Like, you were brilliant. You were like, and and like I would put you up against any of the guys that I've worked with and you'd crush it, right? Like, like I'm all for that, right? But the problem is moms are expected to be full-time moms and full-time employees or business owners or executives or whatever, right? And they also are working harder to try to earn their right within the workplace, which is another mental struggle, right? And so then you
Hmm.
take all of that, and then and then I've still got to be the homemaker and clean the house, like, and those are like, and I'm not trying to go into gender roles at all here. I'm just talking about, like, these things just get bucketed on, and so as a new
Yeah.
mom, it's like, okay, like, now I'm going back to work, and then I still got to juggle all of these things, and then I've got this kind of separation anxiety because I'm leaving my kid at daycare with a nanny or au pair or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so all of those things, and yeah, it's, talk about a burden on your mental health. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
It's
not
not a
easy.
recipe for thriving.
No, that's a lot, right? Like, and so I think what you're building and what way you're approaching this is very calculated, and I think it's extremely beneficial. And like, just as we're talking, I'm like, okay, like, this can transcend beyond just moms, right?
For sure.
Like, like, just having your village of individuals where it's like, okay, like, the lady down the street, my best friend from college, my sister, my
Yeah.
sister-in-law, my husband, right? Like, whatever it is, like, okay, they're going to get notified of any time I update my mood in the app. And now they see, oh, okay, today's a really hard day. Got to make a phone call, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I got to just walk the four doors down the
Yeah.
street, right? Like, Simon Sinek talks about it a lot on his podcast. He's like, you know, that
Yes.
one of the problems that we have in our society is we've shrunk our porches and we've enlarged our decks out back. And
Yeah.
so we go out back and we don't ever interact with our neighbors out front. And so, unfortunately, we have to have an app that helps us do that. but but
Yeah.
it's another way to say, okay, like, I'm enlarging my porch out front a little bit, right? Like, I
Yeah.
need my community, right?
Yeah. I think like there's this old adage, like it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to be a thriving mom. And I think that more and more on social media, you're seeing women come out and say, I don't feel like I have a village. And that's really concerning to me because historically, motherhood and raising kids has always been a very social experiment right up until like the 90s, right? We kind of raised our kids in community and together. And I think that so many women do have people in their community behind them that love them, but maybe we've just forgotten how to really step up for each other and we don't know how. And so let's make that really easy for you to ask and also for people to give and for you to receive. And I think that that would take a lot of the mental load off of new moms. So it's a big piece of what we're trying to build.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love how you've seen a problem and now you've formulated this, okay, here's our solution, right? And
Yeah.
whether it ends up in starting a business or it's just like, hey, like I see a problem within my small community of people, right? Like how can I outreach, right? Like for any of us, right? Like what are the little simple things that I can do? You've taken on a big task and you've said, okay, we're going to take this at scale, right? We're going to build an app
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to help solve this problem
Yeah.
because we are by nature we are communal people, right? Like you bring up, okay, by the 1950s, well, okay, let's kind of look and see what came out in the 50s. Oh, there was the television set, right? Like, interesting, right? Like, is that correlated or is causation or
Right.
correlation or like maybe, right? Like, but you think about it, right? Like people gathered in a town square. Communities were smaller. They tended to be either walkable or you could get there by a horse and boat, right? Like you would walk down to the village center, get your groceries for the day, right? Like you would take in your garden goods that were excess and either sell them or trade them, right? Like those things were normal. Then you would go to church on Sunday and you would get to know the
Mm-hmm.
people within your congregation and you were involved in local politics in some way, right? Like those are things that we don't do as much anymore, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you are in a church, like you think about like across the country, we now have a lot of these mega churches. And okay, well, if I'm a member of a mega church, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you're there worshiping with 2,000, 3,000 other people, how easy is it for you to get to know a handful of people really intimately and really well?
Yeah.
It's not as easy, right? Like it's versus if you go to a church where there's 100 people and then you gather after church. Like you think about the classic Hallmark movie, right? Where they go to church and then after church they have the little potluck outside in the summertime and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? Like you're
Yeah.
interacting, you're engaging with people and you all live within the same like that little town and you it's easy to stay in touch with people, right? Like
Yeah.
we've lost a lot of that. And again,
Yeah.
like we talked about, right? Like front porches are shrinking and back decks are expanding, right? Like we spend more time either in our homes or in our backyards than we ever do out in the front yard. And so we aren't as aware of the people around us externally.
Yeah. And what's even more fascinating is like more time like this, developing parasocial relationships that don't
Mm-hmm.
translate to any meaningful actual social interaction. Although it may feel that way because you're looking at videos and pictures of people that you're acquaintances with and that you know in real life, you're not deepening a relationship in a meaningful way that will help support you in other avenues of your life, right?
Yep. And so I think like I love the app concept, right? And my
Mm-hmm.
advice to everybody out there, right? New moms, parents, individuals, whatever, right? Like go enlarge in your community, right? Like find ways
Yes,
to have true, in-depth, sincere conversations with others. There's a few things that I've done over the past few years because being an entrepreneur and working from home can become very isolating and
for sure.
it's very difficult, right? Like and post COVID many of us are experiencing it whether you're an entrepreneur or not, right? Like one of my close friends here in my neighborhood, he's a developer but he works from home. Okay, Slack interactions, what, right? Like that's not going to create strong bonds with his coworkers,
Right,
right? Like they're
right.
not going to have deep insightful conversations per se, right? Like but
Yeah.
like, so for me, it's been like, okay, I like book clubs. I like to talk about I like to have deep conversations And books are a pretty good way to get that started, right? So I have guys come over to my house. Usually we'll make pizza and I use my pizza oven, or we'll smoke something on the Traeger, right? Like, but it's okay, let's get a small niche community together and let's have some in-depth conversation. Let's have connection. That's one thing that I've done. I love it.
It's
It's great.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I've done is I started a podcast. It's like, okay, I want to talk with people, right? Like, and I could take
Right.
this next level and have these conversations in person, but at
Yeah.
least I can see you. We're talking about things that actually are
Yeah.
meaningful, in depth, right? Like, and so that's another thing, right? Like it's like, and I'm not saying everybody needs to go start a podcast, right? But like, but it's an opportunity to have more in-depth conversations. And then something that I started about 3 weeks ago, I was listening to Ed Milet's podcast, and he laid out 21 things that he does on a daily basis that he has developed as habits. And one of those is to send a few people a personalized video on a each day, right? And so, and doing that, like, it's been really fun. I've had some fall completely flat. People haven't even replied. It's like, okay, like
I loved yours, by the way.
maybe that didn't
I
go there.
was so happy when I got that.
And that's more often what I hear, right? Because like I could send you a text, right? Like, and you'd be like, "Oh, thanks, good to hear from you. I appreciate it. Glad you're thinking of," right? Like, or I can post on your Facebook wall, right? Like, or throw a comment on your Instagram, which those are all nice, like whatever, right? But like to me, like doing this experiment has been fantastic because it's this different level of like, okay, like I've got to be a little vulnerable because anytime we
Yeah.
go on camera, there's some vulnerability, right? Like, and
Right.
then it's
Right.
like, okay, what am I gonna say? Like, this is completely unscripted. Like, what is it gonna be? Like, what am I gonna say? But it's this like true form of like love and consideration for another individual, right? Like, and it takes 2 minutes per person, right? Like, and it's just a simple little video. So now, like, I've also upped the game a little bit when I reply to people, and it's like, okay, I want to say something a little bit more in a text than just, hey, here you go. Like, I sent over a proposal to a company today, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna record a video, right? Like,
Great. I love it.
and it's like because I want a little more human interaction, right? Like, and I get that it's still a screen, but at least you're seeing my face, you're seeing my lips move. It's like it's not just me typing out words. And I'm all for, like, those are great, right? But like, how can we up it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was listening to was I was reading the book. I was reading Darren Hardy's book Compound Effect, and he shared a story. He's like, okay, I had a really good friend. He was applying for this job, and he was one of the like final candidates, and he was telling me about it. He was like, yeah, there. I've got this interview coming up. It's a phone interview, and Darren told him, he said, you know what? Go fly out there. Just go fly out there. Show up, right? Like, and they're like,
Bold.
yeah,
Bold move.
absolutely, right? Like, go meet them in person. Well, no, the next round is an in-person interview, so they'll fly me out if I make it to the next stage. Darren's like, no, like, go fly out there, go do it. The guy didn't do it, and he didn't get the job. He's like, I don't know if he would have got the job if he'd have flown out there, but I know he was more qualified than the person that did get the job. And it's like, okay, what is like human interaction is powerful.
It
I
is.
had somebody tell me about another book recently, and he's like, I haven't read it because the title told me everything I needed to know. And he's like,
What is it?
the book is called Never Eat Alone.
All
And
right.
and I was like, okay, I don't know that I need to read that book either, but it tells me everything I need to know, right? So I've been setting up a lot more lunch meetings lately, right? Like I want to go
Yeah.
meet people in face to face in person, right? Like
Yeah.
and I love it. Like it inspires me, it lifts me up, it encourages me, right? Like there is something that happens physiologically to us as humans when we interact with other people because
Yeah.
again, we're communal beings, right? Like I'm not
Absolutely.
meant to be that lone wolf out there trying to get my own kill by myself, right? Like we are meant to be these communal buildings people, right? So now let's transition that to How fun was it to build a community around a shoe brand?
I have two things to say before I answer your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Everything you just described that you've been doing reminds me of like the main headline that we've been talking about at Village 4, which is if you want a thriving village surrounding you, you have to be willing to be a good villager, which means that you are going to have to put effort out in order to receive the benefits of community when you need it.
I will tell you, it's really hard. It's really
It is
hard, right? Like,
hard. It is
and
hard. Yeah.
it's discouraging, right? Like I talk about my book club, and there are times like right now I'm kind of in this mode of like, do I really want to like keep this thing going? Because like sometimes I
Right.
feel like I'm the only one rowing the ship, right? Like it's like, hey guys, we got this big vessel, and there's 15 of us in here, but y'all are just sitting there on your phones while I'm rowing, and the storm is coming, and we really need to kind of get out of this, right? Like, and sometimes that's what it feels like, right? Like I tried to set up a get together at my house. This was what, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And my sweet little 13-year-old, she's so cute. But like I'm like, I told her, I was like, okay, I've got some guys coming over, so we just need to tidy up. Let's so that we can make sure that like the house is clean for when they come over. She's like, okay, no problem. And then she approaches me later that night. She's like, "Dad, what are you doing? Like, where are your friends?" And then she texted my wife. She's like, "I'm sad. Daddy's friends didn't come over." Because everybody like had something come
Everyone
up or
bailed.
whatever. They
Oh,
all canceled, right? So it
yeah.
was like, so she was like so sad and heartbroken for it was the cutest thing. Like she didn't text me. She texted my wife. She's like, "I'm so sad for Daddy because none of his friends came over." I was like, "Oh, sweetie, you are so adorable. Like that's fantastic, right?" Like I
Yeah.
loved it. But yeah, it's hard, right? Like it is
Yeah.
hard to put ourselves out there and to
Yeah.
create community, right? Like, but
Yeah.
we need to put in the work. We need to be a good villager because if we do, it's going to eventually be reciprocated, right? Like,
For
because
sure.
I know if I was in trouble or I needed something, I could call on any of those guys and they would come running, right? They
Right.
may not come running to a get together on a weeknight because they're either putting their kids to bed or they're trying to give
Sure.
their wife a break or whatever, right? Like, and I'm all for family first, but I think sometimes like especially like, and I think women need it too. Well, actually I know women need it too, but like guys definitely need time with guys. Like
Yeah.
we need like
100%.
we need that time. And if we don't have that time, we're not as good as dads and not as good of husbands. Like we need that time. And too many men don't take that time.
I completely
And
agree with that.
so yeah, I we need to do it. We need to put in the effort because it's crucial.
I
So you got
completely
your one
agree.
thing. Sorry, and then I interrupted you. You were going to
No,
give me two.
no, you're fine. Well, my second thing is just that like I feel like throughout my career and throughout my life, I've always prioritized like developing relationships first and business comes second. And what's been interesting is as we've started Village 4, there have been so many random connections I've had that have immensely helped us build the business because of just relationships I had had personally that I felt like I could call on in my moment of need. And so it's like, you don't want to be transactional when you're developing your friendships, but like putting the effort out there, knowing that someday like that relationship might pay back tenfold, I think makes it worth it to be vulnerable and put yourself out there more than maybe you would otherwise.
Absolutely, but I think the important thing to note there, right, is when you put in the work to create those relationships, you are not viewing it as a transactional relationship, right? Like
No,
you are not
not at
viewing it
all.
as like this will pay off
This will
someday
pay
down
off
the future,
later.
right?
Right.
Like that's not how you approached it because
No,
if you did, it wouldn't have paid off. If you go into a relationship solely transactional, it will not yield the results that going into a true relationship that is in depth and like beneficial and quality, right? That's going to reward far greater. Even if that person never benefits you in a financial way, it's going to benefit you in some way for
100.
sure. Like I had a friend, I had a friend that his wife had a stroke recently, and that was extremely hard for him, right? So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
who gets the video that day, right? Like he does, right? Like he's definitely getting the video that day.
Yeah.
And but I was headed out of town. I was gonna drive right past the hospital she was at. And so I was like, hey man, let me just stop by and give you a hug, right? Like, that's all. And I got there and he's like, hey, she'd love to see you, right? Like, come on up. And just that little interaction with them, right? Like, it meant a lot to me to be able to give
Yeah.
my time and to be there and to be there for them. And I know it meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
And but that's the power of community, right? Like, is being able to reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking of you, I'm there for you, right? Like, and then to show it. So yeah, powerful. And yeah, I think like I love the aspects of community because I think it's so crucial to us as humans, and we're letting it slide. We're
Yeah.
thinking that the Facebook friends, the Instagram followers, the stories, the likes, the comments, that those things are enough of community, and they're
Yeah.
not.
You're
And I
completely right.
yeah.
I mean, we talk about like not only postpartum mental health issues, but the mental health epidemic in America as a whole. And unfortunately, we're just kind of filling this pipeline of young adults who are going to struggle because they've spent the majority of their teenage years on a screen, on a phone.
Well, and I think that like as I've thought about this, especially over this last week, a lot is one of the things that's most detrimental because of that is they don't know how to sit in silence. They
Wow.
they they
Yeah.
don't know, they don't have time margin, right? They don't have the white spaces of time, and that causes there is no rest, right? And so their brains are always firing. And I think that's a major cause that we're not talking about as much as we should be, right? Like, and I think that's the big problem to the device, right? Is because it's always on, it's always connected. We've got a 24/7 news cycle. We've got sports on every time, everywhere across the world, all times of the day. Instagram is infinitely scrollable, right? Like, I could spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week scrolling through Instagram, and other than ads, I would not see the same content twice.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much information out there. And I think it's interesting, right? Like, what is it? Our newspaper alone is like more information than people had in a year in
Yeah.
like the 70s.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, how many websites and Google pages, like news, like it's all out there, right? And so with all of this, we feel like we always have to be consuming. And when we're always consuming, we're not creating, and we're also not sitting in quiet space, right? A speech that I heard recently, sometime last year, calls it mui, right? It's a Japanese word, essentially means not doing, right? And I love that, right? Like, we need more mui, we need more time not doing, right?
Yes.
And because we're always doing, and
Yep.
it's such a detriment on our mental health. And even like, and I'm grateful for apps like Headspace and whatever, right? But even Headspace, I'm still doing something because I'm listening, I'm consuming content to try and put me into a meditative state, right?
Right.
I'm still consuming at that point, right?
Right.
Like, and instead of like, okay, I'm gonna put everything into do not disturb. I'm gonna, like, I mentioned Darren Hardy, and it does his Darren Daily, and one of the things that he talked about is they do a 24-hour, they encourage all of their employees to do a 24-hour information fast. So they basically fast from consuming any information, right? Like, and how, like, what would that do for us as people, right? Like, if I just
What hour do you stop feeling anxiety and just move into acceptance? I'm like how long would it take my brain to be like, okay, everything's turned off and I'm okay with it?
for a lot of us probably take a little bit, right? Like, it takes some time.
Right. Yeah.
So, but but coming out of that, how refreshed are you gonna feel?
But
Like,
yeah.
I try to take my Sundays and, like, okay, no social media at all on Sunday, right? Like, completely disconnect from that. I try not to watch anything on Sunday. Though my kids are always like, hey, let's watch something as a family. And it's like, okay, well, give in, I
Yeah,
guess,
right.
or whatever. But it's just having that one day a week where I can just, okay, I can disconnect from listening, right? Like I will read a book, I will read content, but I won't read the news. But I won't do social media. And I just love, for me, it's a great way to, okay, disconnect and just be a little more present throughout the day. I journal a lot on Sunday. I will usually write more on that day. I feel a lot fresher. And yeah, I think we all need a little more disconnection.
Yeah.
We need the connection physically, intimately, but we need the disconnection electronically, technologically, right?
Yes.
So, which I love and again, back to the app, right? Like, I think you're trying to create this connection offline in a way through being connected online in like
Yeah.
soft way, right? Like to try and create some counterbalance between the two to really help
Yes.
moms take care of themselves and be more present in their own lives and aware of what they're feeling and what they're dealing with. And like intention is such an important word that I feel like we miss a lot, right? Like we go
Yeah.
throughout our
Yeah.
days and we just, okay, I've got the to-do list. I just kind of roll through the routine and I don't have a lot of intentionality to it, right? But when we sit down and we journal, when we start thinking about how we feel, when we start
Hmm.
thinking about when we start touching our dreams or dreaming, right? Like now we're becoming intentional. And now that changes, right? Like there's something within us that shifts and creates a little more energy and excitement and connection and like all of those things, like the endorphins start to fire. But when we're not intentional, we just sit around, become a little more lazy, kind of lose sight of it. But so, so I asked you about creating community.
Yeah.
Like how, like tell, so you come in as kind of this fresh grad. We got to talk because
Yeah.
we
We
can't
have
have
to
this
talk about it.
podcast and
We
not
have
talk
to
about
talk about it.
ultra. Like
I
we
mean,
just
yeah. I mean, I think I told you this the other day. Like, I was reflecting on that being my first experience with like a career and a job right out of college, and like what a amazing opportunity that we had to build that at that time when building community on social media was like the Wild West,
oh
and we
yeah.
just like had an absolute field day. It really was so pivotal in my career, and I'm so grateful that I got to gain experience with Ultra as like my first job.
I think you started like around the same time that Facebook acquired this brand new app that was only 2 years old called Instagram, right? Like that, those were the days, right? Like Facebook had only been really
Yes,
publicly used for like 4 or 5 years at this point. Like it
yes.
was it was fresh.
It was still the best strategy still was to build your brand's page. Like we didn't even have branded ads at the time. It was just treat your brand's Facebook page as your website or a blog and put the content out there and gain fans. And that is wild to think that's where we started.
Well, and the cool thing, and I think one of the things that we both had a lot of fun with was we got to intimately know individuals really well. For
Yeah.
like those early days, right? Like we knew who our super fans were, and then
Yeah.
and then we would go to races and we would meet them in person, right? Like and then the
Yeah.
connection became real, right? Like
Yeah.
we built an ambassador group that was 150
Yes, we did.
strong,
Handpicked.
handpicked. The Excel spreadsheet pouring through that thing after hours. Like, yes,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah. I remember. But you're right, because like I mean, we're still in the community in the area where Ultra was started, and like I still recognize names when I see them pop up on races, or there's like local running coaches that I'm like, oh my gosh, you were an original Ultra ambassador and I remember you. I think what's crazy is like realizing from a brand perspective, like how powerful those people were and how many brand conversions happened because of those relationships. It's really stunning to think about.
well, yeah, it was all qualitative, right? Like we couldn't quantify
Yeah.
it. And so
No.
we had to try to justify to the parent company like what we're doing is valuable. And I remember sitting, maybe I shouldn't tell this story, I don't know. I was sitting in a meeting with the
The
CEO.
NDA is surely expired at this
I was
point.
sitting in a meeting with the CEO of the parent company, and he was trying to pitch something, and I was like, "Well, you know what we really need is we need a little more help on the digital side of things. We could use some more content and stuff on social." And he's like, "What? You just want me to hire a bunch of monkeys to go slap on the keyboard?" I'm like, dude, you're missing the point. Like, you're not
Yeah.
getting it. Like, and because at that time, like, to your point, right? Like, it was the wild, wild west. And if we could have, like, we did an awesome job. But if we could have poured in more resources, we could have dominated that space in a way that no
Yeah.
other brand was. And because we were smart enough and we were edgy enough to be willing to go do it. I Jeremy and I started the Run Talks, right? Like, and you were supporting that from back in Utah when we were doing it, but like
Yep.
that thing could have crushed it.
Yeah.
And it got squelched after like the fifth one. And we never had a chance, like, again, compound effect, right? Like
For sure.
it was going like this, flatlining, right? And that's okay, but it was going to hockey stick if we'd have stuck with it. Like we had plans to get a sprinter van, deck that thing out, travel across the country, right? Like have a crew doing this, line these up. These were TED Talk style in the running community. We were partnering with local retailers. It was gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
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 the
I
information was so valuable.
It was. And maybe I'm just telling myself that because I loved the idea and I was passionate about
Yeah.
it. Nobody else has really seemed to run with it, so maybe it's not a
Yeah.
great idea. But like I thought it was gonna do something. Like I thought we had some potential with it. But like that was the early like because we were that was like some of the first like Facebook Live event. Like it was like
Yeah.
Facebook just
Yeah.
came out with this live streaming feature, and that was kind of part of what stimulated the idea. Let's go leverage this, right? Like and yeah, so so many fun things, right? Like but it was so cool because it was all about community, right? Like and we were building this super rad community around this footwear brand, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I think what's hard for corporations or some brands to really grasp is like so much of building a community and community programs that are successful is at first you just feel like you're doing something that's not going to scale, right?
Hmm.
You're putting all this effort into building these relationships and it doesn't feel like it's a scalable thing. And I mean, I'll never forget one of the first viral posts we had for Ultra was when we had a trail runner whose dog passed away. And we sent him a new pair of Ultra shoes with the name of the dog embroidered on the shoe. And he obviously wrote a very like heartfelt thank you post about it on social. And that thing just took off. And I think that was the first real lesson for me. And like, this actually matters. Like, you talk about converting people to a brand for life. It's doing the things that seem like they're not scalable and they're not necessarily efficient, but that's how you build a brand community that
Yeah.
is engaging and thriving.
It's how you build any community. Community like at the raw level, community is about people. It's about love of people and doing things that matter and make a difference. It was $120 pair of shoes, right? Like at
Right.
retail, right? So our cogs were obviously
Yeah.
lower than that, right? And then we probably spent $5-10 to embroider them, right? Like
Right.
and then another $10 to ship them out to them, right? So okay, it costs us $150, let's say, right? Like that's so cheap. And whether he writes the post or not,
Yeah. It doesn't
that
matter at that
doesn't
point.
matter, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, okay, if we want to quantify it, right? And okay, what's the ROAS of that? Well, okay, well we got so many views and likes on his post, which means if we take these numbers and we kind of look at our average, we probably got this many clicks to the website, and then our conversion rate's this, and so we probably got this many sales. Okay, but there's
Sure. Yeah.
like okay, whatever, right? Like but not all data needs to be quantifiable data. And I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem that we have in society today is everything has become quantified, right? And I I'm like, okay, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. And I understand that, right? Like, I think it's important that we measure things, right? Like your app is measuring certain things, right? Like, but at the end of the day, qualitative data is as important, if not more important, than quantitative data. And like, because I don't need to quantify my relationships, right? Like, I don't need to say, okay,
Right.
well, I went out and I made 10 new friends last month. And of those 10 friends, I'm going to be able to get business relationships with 3 of them. And that those each of those business relationships are going to result in 10 grand a piece. So it's 30 grand. So if I go talk to 20 people, no, like they're relationships, right? Those are friendships. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if I make a dime off of that relationship, right? Like, to me, it's about doing the right thing and reaching out and saying, okay, let's have a deep conversation. Let's get to know each other. Let's talk about stuff. I was at a lunch this last week, and I sit down and I start engaging with the individual next to me, and we just talked about how he's a grandpa, and his granddaughter comes up to him and he's like, "Gpa, you take me to Disneyland." And he's like, "I'll take you to Disneyland. Absolutely. Like, let's go. We can go right now." He's like, "Yeah, but don't bring mom. Just you." And he's like, can I bring Gma?" And she's like, "Yeah, you can bring Gma. So me and Gma can go to Disney." And he's like, "Okay, done. Let's go." And he's telling me this story, right? Like, he's telling me all about it, and it's like, that's like, and I'm like, that's awesome, right? Like, he's like, I would take her to Disneyland in a heartbeat, right? Like, she's like 3, right? Like, and so we're getting into these deep conversations, and it wasn't until the very end of like our interaction that I actually found out what he did. And I really like, and that
Yeah.
doesn't change what our relationship is, right? Like, it's like, okay, cool, like, that's the company that you're with, great, like, that's awesome, like, but like, our lives are so much deeper than that, right? Like, but if we look at every interaction, if we look at every relationship as what can I get from you, what can I gain from you, then we're not going to have good quality in-depth conversations.
Right.
And so, and I think like that's what was fun. Like, it was fun building a community with that thought in mind. The
Yeah.
problem was, yes, we had to report to a parent company and they didn't like that strategy and
And there are budgets.
whatever, but
It's
like,
it's I mean, for the initial ambassador program, we were doing what? 2 free pairs of shoes a year.
yeah, it was, and we gave them half
So
off anything else, right?
there you go.
It was nominal, right? Like, okay, like, even having 150 of them, right? We're giving away 300 pairs of shoes.
Right.
But as Golden and Brian were firm believers in the ambassador, they loved it, right? Like,
Yeah.
because like you could look at the sales just from the ambassadors alone, because they like 2 pairs of shoes, that was not enough, right? Like, but we were essentially giving them wholesale cost on anything else. Yeah, they some of those ambassadors were mini retailers for us. Not that they were reselling them, but because they
100%.
were buying the quantity that some of our small retailers were.
Oh yeah. And not to mention, like, you talk about a community that like becomes obsessed with their gear. Like the running community is just they find something they love and they're telling everyone about.
So before you came on with Ultra, did you travel
Mhm.
much? Did you travel much growing up or in college?
Oh, I mean, in college here and there, but not as much as we did.
So what was the most exciting thing, or what, like, yeah, tell me, like, what did you learn to love about traveling when you came on with Ultra?
I think like what was so good about traveling with Ultra was often I would be brought in almost as a producer role. Like we're doing photo shoots, whatever, we're at a race, whatever it was. Like there would always be something that like came up that had to be solved. And I loved the like problem solving in the moment in a place that you weren't familiar with. I think there's so much that you can learn about like yourself and your team and I think about like at one point we had a 3 week long shoot where we were gone and we were in 3 separate locations all on the same trip. And I mean, every day we were just solving a new problem or a problem would find us, like when the van got broken into in San Francisco and the gear got stolen.
I didn't travel a lot before Ultra either. Like I started Ultra in my late 20s, right? And I didn't travel a lot, right? Like, traveled a lot around the state of Utah, and then I'd certainly been to Southern California and whatever, right? Like, but ultra really like the opportunity to travel with a company changed my life in a crazy way. And it was a lot of fun. And so like as I experienced some of the travels that we got to go on, right? Like when we had first gotten acquired and we launched our shoes for the first time. Brian and I, this was before you obviously, but like
Yeah, I don't
we
know this
threw
story.
loaded up Brian's Subaru Outback. He had a car topper on, and we loaded that thing up with every box of shoes that we possibly could fit in that thing. And then
Huh?
we road tripped from Utah to our very first Boston Marathon Expo. Boston was the first race expo that I ever worked at.
That's
And
insane.
it is
First of
insane.
all,
It is insane. You've been to Boston a few times, and so you've
yes,
seen how
yes.
crazy it is, right? And we can get into that a little bit of that, right? But we road tripped from Salt Lake all like across the country, and we went to St. Louis and Chicago and Detroit and Pittsburgh. I remember him introducing us, like he had a friend that lived in Pittsburgh and introduced us to this sandwich place there that I've taken my kids back to since, where they basically
Yeah,
serve you a Reuben sandwich with the French fries on the sandwich, and that thing is like it's amazing. It's an old trucker stop, like it's fantastic. But like, yeah, we saw all these things. We went on a 12-mile run around New York City for our first time ever visiting the big city. And then we go to Boston and we have this great little expo. We're brand new. We're in this
iconic.
kind of in this
The most
corner, right? Like,
iconic marathon
yeah, it was,
in America.
yeah. No, it is the marathon of marathons in the US,
Was
right? Like,
that
and it
the
was,
moment where you were like, "Oh my gosh, we made it. We got funding and we're at the Boston Marathon." Like,
it
we have
was,
created a
yeah,
brand, like
yeah.
an actual brand.
Yeah, I feel like seeing people talk about it online and stuff, right? Like, but then coming and seeing it in real and like people putting the shoes on and they're like, whoa, this feels good. Like, and buying shoes from it, right? Like, we are selling people shoes, right? Like, that was phenomenal. Like, we may have sold like 30, 35 pair or something like that, right? Like, but that was
Right.
30, 35 pair of shoes that we just sold to people on this brand that we built out of our basements, right? Like, this was like it was real, it was phenomenal. And then also to have a couple of people come and they're like, yeah, I heard about you guys, oh, I really wanted to try this, right?
Crazy.
Like, and it's like, okay,
Crazy.
right? Like Pete Larson was running a running blog at the time. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember Pete, but he kept doing it for
I
a
do.
while, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we had sent him, I think, an early sample or something, but he was there and I got to meet him and he's like, oh yeah, you guys are real, like here you go. Like, and like it was people like that, right, that were kind of these quasi early influencers, right? Like when it was kind of
Yeah.
blog influencers at the time, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
but
absolutely it was.
that was like, yeah, and Boston made it real. Like it was like, okay, like we are here. We are at Copley Place. We are right off Boylston Street. The finish line is there. Like, we are selling
Yeah.
shoes against Adidas and Brooks and
You're doing
Saucony,
it.
and like here
You're
we
doing
are,
it.
right? Like is fantastic. And then to come back year after year, right? Like and experience that and to watch the brand go from this small corner 10 by 10 to a 10 by 20 to a 20 by 20, right? Like and just grow year over year and see that okay, like yeah, here we are. Like this was awesome. Yeah,
I think
amazing.
it's so interesting. I was talking to someone, I was out at Expo West and I was telling someone that I used to work at a running shoe brand out of college, and he was like, "Oh, a brand." And I was like, "Ultra Running." And he's like, "You know that that's a big brand and you can just say you worked for Ultra Running." And I was like, "I know, but like in my head it's like it was just like such a long shot. Like I truly can't believe that you guys started a running shoe brand when you did, when literally all there was Nike, Asics, and Saucony.
Yeah, I was thinking
Like,
about it the other day,
what
right?
a
Like,
big bet that was at the
yeah.
time. No one would have advised you to do that.
Wow, we had a lot of people tell us we were crazy, and there was no way they were going to give us money. So yeah, that's it's about accurate. But like going through that experience, right? Like going through those travels, seeing these places, going through these experiences, right? Like I have experiences I'll never forget. Like, and you obviously know this story really well, right? But walking out of the Marriott that we were staying in, you, me, and Josh Bruni, and as we crossed the street to see all of those police cars and motorbikes and everything fly past us. And look at each other and be like, that was weird, and just
Yeah.
kind of cast it off as to, okay, maybe they're just rushing to the finish line because they're done with their shift along the course somewhere, right? Or whatever. But then to walk into the mall right there at Copley and just hear the announcement overhead, right? Like, and I can still hear that announcement today,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like there has been criminal activity on Boylston Street. Everybody, please stay in. And then us being the intelligent individuals we are, we automatically left the
Yeah.
mall.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Literally,
not staying in. We are
it
not going to be locked down in this mall.
it was such a quick decision to be like, they're putting this mall on lockdown. Are we staying in here or are we walking out?
Yeah, well, and thankfully we had just come in, right? So we were on the back
Yeah.
side. We were away from the finish line, right? So we weren't, so we knew, okay, Boylston Street's that way. That's where we were headed because we were headed to go to Newberry Street. Like that was our plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're like, nope, we're out. Like we're going out the back
Yeah.
door. Here we are. And then us huddling around each other on the grass there outside the mall, flipping on Twitter to see, okay, what is going on, and then to just see these gruesome, awful photos that were pulled down pretty quick after, right?
Immediately.
But we saw them in real time, and to see and experience the bombing that took place, right? Brian shares his story, and he was in the tent at the finish line. He had just come through probably 5 minutes before, if not less. And he was in the
Hmm.
finisher's tent and felt the shake and was on the phone with his wife. And he's like, Xana, what was that? Like, and just how surreal that experience was, right? And then like I have pictures of us in our hotel with SWAT and military police down on the streets with no individuals out there. And finally, by the evening, we were able to leave our hotel. And I remember you, me, and Josh walking to the north end, and everything was,
It was so
it was
bizarre.
so bizarre. It was so quiet
Yeah.
around Back Bay, that area, and across the park. And then it was almost, we got to North End and it was almost like nothing had happened. Like I remember walking into a restaurant and it was kind of like everybody was
People
just
were
going about
there.
their evening. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was this weird, eerie kind of juxtaposition between like coming
Yeah.
from Back Bay up to North End, and like Back Bay was just locked down and shut. Like we had to show our IDs at the hotel to be able to get back in, and like
Yeah.
it was crazy. Yeah, what an experience.
It was wild, especially like,
And you're
yeah,
like
the
24
juxtaposition.
right out of college experience.
Yeah. 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 It's so interesting because like I was so young and
Was that your first trip to
honestly,
Boston?
no, it was my second.
Okay, this is your second. Okay.
But like the juxtaposition of the craziness of like the joy and the excitement of the race and like we had been at the finish line for hours prior
Yeah.
to that, like
Yeah.
staring directly at the spot where the bombs were detonated, and just like the luck that we happened to like be done at the finish line and be away from it when it happened. Like there's a lot to be grateful for in that, and a lot to be grateful for in that I was there with a team and I wasn't just like working that alone.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it was so bizarre though and so apocalyptic to see what should have been such a joyous experience with so much community and happiness, and like the people of Boston are amazing, and then that evening for it to be just like there is no one on the street, like we are shut down, it is police personnel only, is so
Well,
bizarre.
and it is bizarre, right? Because usually post race, right? Like it's crazy celebration, like
But
it's
yeah.
a like it's a happy place. People are going from the race out to Fenway to watch the game, right? Like all of, because it is a state holiday on Marathon Monday, right? Like because it's Patriots Day, and so everybody, well, most everybody, but has work off that day, and they celebrate that as a holiday. Yeah, and like it was weird. It was this weird feeling, and having been there before and seeing the celebration and like all of that just joy, and just have it all kind of erased into this mass of kind of hysteria,
Yeah.
fear, chaos, right? Like it was unfortunate. But
And like
yeah, go ahead.
in the immediate aftermath, like we didn't know, like you didn't know if there was like people were planning more attacks later. Like there was no information about like what to expect.
Well, we didn't even know if we were going to be able to fly out in some cases, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Jer left that. He was able to change his flight to leave that night, and he was able to get out
Right.
and fly out. He was able to make it out, right? But like the three of us, we ended up flying out the next day, and there were still questions, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
are they going to shut down air transportation? Like, what is like, and yeah, because like this, yeah, we live in a post 9/11 world, right? Like, there are definitely concerns about stuff like this. Yeah, it was a little eerie, but here we are to
My most exciting
reminisce and tell the story.
work
But
travel story for sure.
yeah, well, come on, milkshakes in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania isn't more exciting than that, but
I do love Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I have
yeah,
to say.
we had so much fun there. But you mentioned one other trip, our San Francisco trip, right? Like, I think we could talk about different trips we had all for another hour here, but that San Francisco trip was a lot of fun because we did two shoots in like 4 days, right? Like we flew into Seattle, we spent an evening shooting, we grabbed dinner, we celebrated my birthday in Seattle that year. And then we shot the next day, and then we flew directly to San Francisco, and then we shot there, and then we parked on the Golden Gate Bridge, had our van broken into, our camera guy, anything that wasn't on his person when he was on the bridge shooting was taken.
Hmm.
Anything that we had left in there, thankfully we didn't have all our luggage because that was still at our hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was good. But we lost some backpacks that day. We lost a lot of camera equipment.
A lot of collateral damage in
So
that break-in.
that was interesting. But those shoots were so fun because it was very blitzed, but we got to see so much of both of those areas so quickly.
Yeah. And like we got some of the most iconic shots of those cities.
Now that park that we were in where you could see Mount Rainier from the park that we were shooting in Seattle, it was gorgeous. It
Yeah.
was amazing. Just across the pond, like it was beautiful.
Yeah. I think back to that shoot. I've done many shoots since then. And I think back to that one in particular. And I'm like, how did we get away with doing that without any permits?
We
Just a small crew running with a camera and
That's
just waiting until we get in trouble.
basically how we did it.
Yeah.
I think we got asked in Chinatown in San Francisco to leave. I think we did get asked to leave there, but maybe not. I can't. I think so, but I don't remember for sure. But yeah, for the most part, we were able to just go run and
Pretty
gun
scrappy.
style. So
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
it
Um,
was.
so shifting gears a little bit as we kind of wrap this up, as you go down this road building Village 4,
Hmm.
what is it that keeps you motivated?
Yeah, I was talking to my co-founder about this and like I felt like I we really did find a problem that we both felt so motivated to solve when I realized like I would actually work on this idea for the next 10 years and if the app helped literally one family, it would be worth it to me. And that's kind of the realization where I was like, this is the problem that I have to solve. If I'm willing to put in all this work just for it to help one person, and that really feels like a net positive to me, then that is worth all the sweat equity in the world to me. And I think it's interesting. An interesting question is like, when do you give up? Or like, when do you call it and walk away from it? And my co-founder actually asked me like, what is our sign that like we need to walk away from this? And I said, honestly, like nuclear war. Otherwise, there's like no option for me to stop working on it in some capacity. And that's where I'm at now. But we're 2 years into it and we're just starting to have like conversations about funding. So ask me in another year and I might be in a different headspace.
So yeah, and I like for me, I think there's two things that were really valuable, right? Like building a footwear business was hard, right? Like it was a lot of work. But
For sure.
one, I had great co-founders. I'm not going to say we always got along. You know the dynamics between me, Brian, and Golden, right? Like it was not always a happy place. But we were there to push each other. We were always that, right? Like when you go solopreneur, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. I had a call yesterday with a guy that's starting a brand business and he's going it alone. And I'm like, you're in a very lonely space. Like that's
So,
really
yeah,
hard, right?
so
Like,
hard. Yeah.
and so having a co-founder is really so crucial, right? Like to keep that because you can feed off of each other, right? Like one of you might be like, I'm ready to just fold, and the other one's like, no, no, we got this. We just need to keep going. Like, and then the second thing is patient persistence.
I love that.
And I'm a huge fan of, like, I feel like I've coined the term because I haven't heard anybody else say it.
I haven't heard it.
But as I think a lot about this, right, like it's just patiently persisting, because starting a company is going to ebb and flow, right? There's going to be a lot of
Right.
times of very difficult mental challenges, right? Like trying to raise money. It's not an easy task, right? Like you are asking people to open their books for something that is not proven, right? Like raising capital is difficult. It's not an easy task, but it's doable. It's possible, right? Like, but it's just staying patiently persistent through those hard moments, and then you will see the compound effect take hold on the back end, right? And it might take you 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? Like, yeah, we've all heard the great stories of Instagram, right? They launch in what, 2010 and sell in 2012, and great, okay, awesome, right? Like,
Yeah. Cool.
but how long were they working on it before it launched, right? Like that's a question to ask, right? Like, but then also how many other products, how many other brands, how many other tech stacks, right? Like were years in the making, and even
Right.
live versions before they hit that hockey stick moment, right? Like because it's easy for us to see in today's day and age the heroes, the unicorns, the ones that are like, oh, well, these guys started working on it in 2020 and they sold for $4 billion in 2023. Okay, but tell me about the all the other ones that are $200 million companies, but it took them 5, 6, 7 years to get to that, or
Yeah.
15 years to get to that point, right? So patiently persist. It'll come. Just stick with it.
It's
I
my new
like
motto.
I like the nuclear war example. Like that's fair. And I think and it's something you're passionate about, right? So that's great. Well, Caitlin, as we wrap, let me ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Well, I can't wait. Okay.
So, and then we'll go ahead and close. What would you consider is your greatest accomplishment?
Definitely raising my kids. I think the more I get into motherhood, the more I realize like what a good perspective provider being a parent is. And so
Absolutely.
my kids are definitely my greatest accomplishment.
Love it. Love it. How do you respond to failure?
Oh man, failure hurts. I'm an eldest child and I'm the eldest daughter, and I love to be right and I love to know the answer to things. Failure has been like great exposure therapy for me. I think that like honestly, when it comes to failure, I am very good at me admitting I messed up or I made a mistake. And I'm all about just like total and complete ownership, even if it might not be my fault. I just like to take ownership, learn from it as fast as possible, and move on.
Okay. And I think that's so important, right? Like learn from it and then move on.
Yeah, make
Because
it useful. You
if we
got to get
dwell
something
in
out
it,
of it.
if we dwell in it, we can get stuck in it, right? So I've heard it often said that it's only failure if you stop or if you give up, right?
Wow.
And so like if you learn from it, then it's not actually failure, right? But what inspires you?
Honestly, like I'm really inspired by helping people, and I love forming relationships, and I just love community. And so I think what inspires me is like helping people grow in whatever way.
Awesome. What is something that you would want to tell your 18-year-old self?
Oh my gosh. Well, at 18, I was a freshman at Utah State University. I honestly, like, it's not a race. Like, make as many mistakes in your early 20s as you possibly can. Your 20s are the decade for making mistakes. But I think when you're 18 and you feel like such an adult, you just want your 20s to like look picture perfect and follow the timeline. And now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, wow, your 20s are just like the perfect decade for doing a bunch of weird stuff and making a bunch of mistakes.
Valid. Yeah. No, I like that. What book are you reading right now?
Well, I am currently reading The 12-Week Year. Have you read this book?
Nuh-uh.
Can't remember who the author is, but his premise is like we set annual goals. That timeline leaves way too much time for you to procrastinate, for you to just like push things off until Q4. if you can structure whatever you're working on in a 12-week plan, like you will accomplish more in 12 weeks than most people do in a year. And that's basically the premise of it. And I'm loving it so far. I think it's a
I think
really
it was,
interesting concept.
yeah, I think it was, is it Sheryl Sandberg? She's the Facebook gal, right? I think it was her that I heard say, have a solid 3 month, like, have a solid 3 month goal, have a 1 year plan, and then have like
Yeah.
have like a 5 year like
Vision.
dream or vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I really like that because you're right, right? Like, is if I set it out and I say, okay, I'm in the, and the other nice thing about a 12-month year is that like it doesn't, I can start at any time, right? Like I think we get so
Yeah,
stuck in like New
exactly.
Year's resolutions, right? Like it's like,
Yes, for sure.
and
Yeah.
then by January 10th, everybody's given up. What is it January 10th or January 12th is like
Yeah.
quitter's day, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
day that we're like, ah, that was too hard, right? Like it's too hard to get up at 5:30 to go to the gym.
Sure.
But if I'm looking at everything in kind of chunks, right? And I really like I like to look at I like to look at it and okay, what do I want to accomplish this month? What do I want to, and then break it down. What do I want to accomplish
Yeah.
this month? And then what do I need to accomplish tomorrow? But I like the idea of 12 weeks, right? Like I get a quarter, right? Like I get 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. I'll have to check that one out. What book have you read in the past 12 to 18 months that you would highly recommend to others?
Good question. You know what book I've reread and revisited over and over again? It is called Rework, and it just like helps you by Jason Fried. And it really helps me. I'm still like working in corporate, right? And Rework kind of challenges the notions of like, do you have to do things the traditional way, or can you find new ways to work that really spur your creativity? Can you approach problems more creatively? And I honestly find myself rereading that book maybe once every 2 years because
Okay.
it's a really quick read, but it's really refreshing to like think about your work and the concepts that they present in the book.
Interesting. I'll have to check that one out too. As you
You would
know,
love it. You would love it.
I am very contrarian in my thinking. So
Yeah, it's definitely a book
I
for
like
you.
to
You would love it.
challenge the status quo, as probably
Yeah.
everybody listening knows. Okay. And then the most important question, where's your favorite place you've traveled to in the past and why?
Oh man, I am taking my kids back here. It is my favorite place in the world. I love Maui. Like Hawaii is just the most breathtaking place. And I absolutely love it there. And I'm going there in 3 weeks and I'm very excited to bring my kids.
Fantastic. I will set foot on the island of Maui for the first time in 2 weeks, but I will only set foot to get onto another plane. So
You're
I
headed to Oahu?
yeah, we're going to Oahu. So
Man,
that will be
all
fun.
all
But I have
the
not been to
Hawaiian
Maui.
islands are just magical. I love them all, but
Have you been to
I think
all of
Maui's
them
my
now?
favorite. No, I still need to go to the Big Island.
Okay. So I will also set foot on the Big Island. Our flight out is funky because we have two layovers, flying Hawaiian Airlines.
Wow,
So,
nice. Can touch them all.
but I got to go to Maui and then the Big Island and then Oahu. So,
Nice.
yeah, I haven't been to Maui or the Big Island yet. I've been to Oahu and I've been to Kauai. I love Kauai. It is my happy place. I would go back in a heartbeat anytime.
It's so magical.
Hanalei
It's
Bay
like you want to feel
is
at
just
one with
heaven.
the
Like
earth,
it's
with
yeah,
Mother
so
Nature.
good. So
Go to
good.
Hawaii.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm excited to be back out there. I love it. I don't know which I like better though. We went to Costa Rica last year and I really, really liked Costa Rica.
Really?
Yeah. So, but the trip I'm looking forward to the most is, and the way I travel is I like, my wife is like, people are going to think that we're like being way too gaudy with, and, but like, I travel so cheap. I travel on points and I'm a
Yeah.
credit card fiend. So
Yeah.
like, I have a system. Like, so I haven't paid for flights like for my entire family in probably a couple years because I book them with points and we travel a fair bit. But the trip I'm looking forward to the most is my wife and I are going to Malaysia in August. So we'll do
Amazing.
Thailand, and then probably another country, but I haven't decided if I want to go to Bali, if I want to go to Brunei, if I want to go to Vietnam. It's a
Go
tough
to the
decision to
Philippines.
figure out. He would be so mad at me.
You can't do it.
My son is in the Philippines right now, and
I loved the Philippines.
but where did you go?
We went to Cebu, and one of my friends lived there for a couple years and spoke Tagalog. And so he took us around. I basically got to turn my brain off, and he just gave us like an entire tour of the Philippines, and it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, so my son is in Tacloban, which is just east of Cebu. So I think like yeah, my wife has not like pushed me to go there yet, but I
Is
think
she
like
hoping?
hopefully no, I think we're hoping to be able to go out and pick him up in
Yeah,
18 months when it's
yeah,
time for him to come home. So we'll see. We'll see if that's the route we go or not, but so I love travel. I love to explore this beautiful earth that we have been given, and it's so good. And we meet so many great people. We get so many, again, going back to community, right? Like the earth is such a small place and we can get to know people so well through travel. Like, and so I don't like to travel where I'm isolated and all of that. I like to travel where I get to just interact with people and see
yeah.
how they like. I had a guest on just a couple podcasts ago where they spent a month living in France with their kids
Fun.
in a small town in France. And so it was like
Yeah,
full in the community, right? And I've got a friend that spent months living into like Brazil and Peru, and like they've taken their kids and lived abroad in different places. And I think like that to me would be fantastic because then you get fully into their culture and the experiences.
right.
But so I could keep going on travel. I love it. It's fantastic. But where can people keep up with you or follow you, Kate?
Yeah, you can follow me on the Village for social media pages. It's Village FOR. We're on Instagram and we're on TikTok.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for joining us. This was fun.
I
What a
had a
fun
great time.
conversation.
It was
So
great.
appreciate it, Caitlin. Again, Caitlin Probst on A Bit of Curiosity. Hopefully, you guys can share this with others and yeah, share the app. Check out Village 4. Are you guys, is the app live yet? Is it in the App Store?
Not yet. We
Okay,
are doing our beta testing right now. So if there's
okay,
any moms listening, anyone who knows a mom that has ever had a child, if you go to our Instagram, you'll see how you can sign up to be part of our beta testing with the University of Virginia.
okay. So follow on Instagram and then you'll know when the app drops. So,
That's right.
and then are you launching a podcast? Is that what I saw on your
We're
Instagram?
working on it. Yep. Our
Okay.
podcast is called Mommy Okay, and it will be coming soon.
Okay. So there's another one. So
There we
we'll
go.
drop those links in the show notes. But yeah, follow Caitlin and share this podcast and share her stuff. So thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you.